Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic medium spirit navigator. Today, you're tuning into a political video where my spirit guides are going to answer your political questions, which you supplied to me on my community page. Thank you so much for doing so. Now, if you're new here, I'm channeling this. May not look at like it, but it is true. You will see it. You will see it in this video. 60% my spirit guides, 40% Susan. And I'm going to get right to your questions. Also, they wanted me to say this disclaimer, which is always interesting. We're just 11 days out from the election, regardless of when you're watching this video. My videos stay up. My predictions stay up. I'm not always 100% accurate, but the spirit guides are very accurate. So you can always go back and watch my videos and see what I said about whatever topic. But they want to say that they're not in the business. I swear to God, this is what they're saying. They're not in the business of making you happy. That's what they said. Welcome to my world, y'all. Welcome to my world. They're like, Susan, we're not in this to make you happy. Well, then why the hell are you in this? You know what I mean? Like, are you a friend of me? What is happening here? Anyway, their point being, my point being, our point being, is that they're just going to tell you what the energy is. Okay. I'm not in the business of sugarcoating things. I'm not in the business of telling you what you want to hear. If you've watched me for a while, you know that. Okay. I know what you want to hear. I could tell you everything you wanted to hear. It's the same thing Susan wants to hear. Sometimes that's just not the case. Now, having said that, I'm not saying Harris is going to lose. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about Eileen Cannon and Matt Gaetz, which is the very first question that I see before me. And I would also say that Harris is going to win, in my opinion, the way I'm reading the energy and what my guides are telling me. And remember what they just told you. They don't care if you're happy or not, because it is her role to do so. Everything has queued up. This is her time. Very similar to the fact that Biden ran, how many times did Biden run for president? 2, 3 times. It wasn't his time. Then it was his time and he won against, kind of very formidable odds, right? So this again is Kamala Harris's time. She is the law and order president. She's here to knock some heads together, and she's here to learn her own lessons, right? We're all learning our own lessons. If you guys want to know more about how to get through your life easier, you might want to check out my video that comes out every Wednesday. I just did a video on how to remove blocks in your life. Check it out. It could be helpful to you at this time. So, she has her own demons that she's slaying by becoming president. This is no walk in the park for her. This is a challenge for her. But she was made for this. This is her time. Okay. So this isn't true for everybody. Like majority, 99% of the politicians I read on, it's not so written. It's not this huge karmic contract like it was for Biden and it is for Harris. And might I add, like it was for Trump. Trump was the guy who came in and made this all visible. We could have continued having people like Vance that spoke out of both sides of their mouth, that slithered around, that we wouldn't have caught on to. We just wouldn't have been able to be slapped up the head hard enough to wake up and go, what the hell is happening, right? That's what Trump does. He's literally slapped us upside the head so many times, continues to do so, because we don't want to wake up. We don't want a participatory democracy. We just want government to do its thing. We don't want to be bothered with it. And that's how you end up with an autocracy or dictatorship, right? So we're learning our lessons too. Okay. So whatever I just said doesn't have anything to do with Harris. It has a lot to do with Eileen Cannon. The question is, thank you so much for listening to my rant, my TED Talk rant from the Spirit Guides. The first question is from Calogero, who says, will Eileen Cannon get disbarred and investigated? First, that's your first of 2-part question. The Spirit Guides are sticking by what they've always said. Of course, I've read on her for the whole time that this has been going through the courts, where she became in our public awareness, right? So what they've always said is that allegedly and for entertainment purposes only, this woman is, my opinion, I'm really trying to be careful here, guys. I see people getting nailed in social media, their accounts getting taken down. That's why I am so careful. And so far, it's worked for me. So, in my opinion, she might be being supported monetarily. There might be an additional energy, power that is guiding her. Okay. Sometimes even writing her words. Okay. So she's done the thing. Again, we got to go all the way back. The whole reason all this is happening, period, very simply, is that other countries want to destabilize the United States. And they're doing it through these Heritage Foundation, through whatever think tank that wants to install, these American oligarchs, right? And to do that, they want us to be at each other's throats. And you can see how that's happening right now. And also to do that, they need Americans to distrust the political system. They want us to distrust Congress. They want us to distrust the courts. Well, look at it, right? I mean, Congress is at its lowest opinion rating ever. Supreme Court's low. The presidency is low. Now, there's a reason for this, because if you don't trust the institutions that form democracy, then you're like, no, I don't want all this. It's too complicated. Just give me a guy. Give me a man like Trump who's just going to make all the decisions, because I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to get involved. You guys, that's the slippery slope right there to having a dictator. Okay. And this is why this is happening. This is why we have judges like Eileen Cannon. Okay. So I don't see her getting disbarred. I hate to say that. Right now, you guys understand what I'm doing is I'm looking at the energy from today. 2 weeks from now, or let's say actually what they just said was in February, we might get and we will get a new DOJ. Garland goes out, somebody else comes in. As a matter of fact, a big sea change of personnel will happen. And I'm not saying Biden is wrong. I'm not saying Harris is right. I'm saying they're two different people. And Harris is going to go about this much differently than Biden has. Okay. And she moves at a faster pace. She does not have the patience for this slow, just maybe I will, maybe I won't. We should always be extra neutral. She certainly understands that America is a tinderbox and she needs to be careful. But I feel like she's the law and order president. And if you break a law, like right now, let's just say Elon Musk is over there offering $1 million in a lottery to people who sign people up to VOTE. That is not by the letter of the law. If you look at the law like it's a minefield and you have to walk through it, you're never going to do anything. And that's what Garland is doing. Garland is saying, this isn't really, they're by the letter of the law, they're not really breaking the law, right? That's the Heritage Foundation. That's all these groups. Peter Thiel. This is what they do. They figure out the gray areas of the Constitution, and then they put people in positions to exacerbate that. Like Bill Barr he was great at this. The guides always call him a master or just a brilliant constitutionalist because he understands where the gray areas are. So here we are, right? Is Elon Musk breaking the law or not? Okay, so Garland says, I don't think so. But if you didn't know, so many ex-prosecutors and different people wrote letters to Garland saying, you got to do something. He finally sent a letter to Elon Musk saying, cease and desist. You are getting dangerously close to breaking a law. Right? So my point is, when we get into Kamala Harris's presidency, there's going to be a new DOJ who's not going to think that this is full of minds and I can't walk. They're going to wade into it and say, we just have to do something. So people like Eileen Cannon, when we go into 25 and 26, they're going to be watching their P's and Q's, because pretty soon, right after she becomes president, she's going to get a shot across the bow of these people to sort of wake them up and say, there's a new sheriff in town. I'm not going to be putting up with your little shenanigans, with your too cute by half behavior. If I think you've broken a law, my DOJ is going to go after you. So don't play with me. Okay, so now we have this new energy. Like if I'm reading right now in Biden's administration with Garland's DOJ, no, she's not going to get disbarred. So do you understand what I'm saying? If I move my energy into Harris's energy, she's going to get investigated. You better believe she's going to get investigated. She's going to get investigated 9 ways to Sunday, and there's going to be other countries involved. Did you hear what I just said? Other countries are participating and paying her allegedly. Okay. So understand this whole psychic business. If you guys ask me a question, I've got to read it from the current energy. I happen to feel 99.9% sure that Kamala Harris is going to get the presidency. So I feel comfortable going into that energy and predicting based on that energy. But if I didn't know that, I would have to predict from today. And from today, I would have to say people like her are getting a free pass. Sad to say. So I don't see her getting disbarred. What I've always seen is her stepping down and getting a golden parachute from the same people that have been sliding the cabbage over to her. She will have a nice, cushy job for the rest of her life, even though the federal court, federal judges have lifetime appointments. And it would be in their best interest, meaning whoever's backing her, to keep her in a federal court position, because that's their placement of power. They put these people plop, 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 like on the Supreme Court, in positions of power, and these people are doing the bidding of someone else. Okay. So, but even so, it's in their best position, their best interest to have her stay on. It's not in their best interest for their cover to be blown. Okay, this is something the spirit guides have said a lot about, say, Justice Thomas. Harlan Crow didn't want his cover to be blown, and he was trying to pressure. This is energetically, not reported. You're asking a psychic, I'm telling you psychically. Psychically, energetically, Crow was saying to Thomas, step down, man. Step down. I don't need this heat. I can't continue to do what I do if people know what I do. He didn't step down. And ProPublica, if you're not following ProPublica, ProPublica, please follow them, because they're investigative reporters that broke the whole Thomas thing, and they continue to do the work. And they are a nonprofit. They're not owned by any billionaire. So ProPublica dug it up and broke it. Okay. So these people like Barr, like Cannon, like Thomas, and several others, allegedly for entertainment purposes only, in my opinion only, are supported by bad actors from other countries that want to see America fall into division and not trust anything and give themselves over to a person like Donald Trump. Okay, so next question is, Matt Gaetz go to jail? I'm going to look again. Again, when I read these things, it's from the current energy. I have read on him several times. I have told you guys that he wasn't going to go to jail the first time. I predicted he wasn't going to get caught up in that with his buddy Greenberg, or whatever that guy's name is. That was correct. I also predicted at that time that it would come back around, that the energy wasn't dead. Like if you think about a fire, a campfire, you know when the fire's out, like that fire's out. Gaetz's fire was never out. There was always coals there. So that told me the energy is still hot. It's just simmering, perhaps below, some coals that look out. So they're giving me chills on that for some reason. So I do think he's going to get investigated. They're saying to me he's getting investigated right now. The trail is picking up speed or getting hotter. If you play that game where hot, cold, well, it's hot. And more witnesses are going to come out. They're saying more witnesses. How do I explain that? There's witnesses that have come out and potentially even given depositions, but then they withdrew because the same thing that happens to 45, right? These witnesses withdraw because they're afraid for their safety or their family's safety. And this energy, I keep telling you guys about this energy, is take no prisoners. It's like karma on steroids. That's what's pushing Kamala Harris. It's this reckoning energy, this leveling of the justice energy. So will he go to jail? Maybe not. I would like to say yes, but I'm seeing him in Florida. I'm seeing him at a place that looks like one of those houses that used to be a plantation. I don't know if that's his house. I don't know if that means he's not in politics and he's retired, or he's laying low. So the other thing to know is that a lot of these judges and politicians, once Trump is really out of the picture in whatever way that happens, they're going to go out of the picture, because again, Kamala's going to come in hot. She's going to shoot a shot across the bow to let everybody know there's a new sheriff in town. I'm not letting you off the hook. I'm to heck with this, with the DOJ says we have to be 96% sure that we're going to win before we even drop a case against you. What? I mean, are you kidding me? Justice has to pretty much be 96% sure? No. Kamala Harris is like, give me 85% chance and I'll make it happen, right? That's like saying you're never going to take the shot from the 3-point line, or you're never going to just throw the Hail Mary, or you're never going to do the thing because you're not sure you're going to make it. That's defeatist. That is not Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris says, just give me 80%, I'll make it 100. So you're going to see a big difference in this. Now, he could be house arrest. That might be why they're showing me this house. I mean, it's not a house. It's like a big, one of those plantation houses, one of those big Florida sprawling things. So I'm going to leave that there. I think what you're asking, Calagero, is will there be justice? Yes, there will be justice. Maybe not your justice, maybe not somebody else's justice, but there's going to be justice, a whole lot more than we've experienced so far. Okay. Let's move on. Curiopus, that's nice, says what's going on with Elon, fraud, evil, compromise, comeuppance. Yeah, yes, it's all, yes, check. For entertainment purposes only and allegedly. Look, he's owned. I mean, he's not well. He's got some kind of complex, the spirit guides are saying, like a superiority complex. He's just got a weird thing going on in his energy. He's not a normal dude. And what is going to happen with him, the guides told me last week, is ruination. The actual word ruination. He's going to lose everything. He's going to lose his government. He's going to lose his appointment at Tesla. He's going to lose his control of these companies. Okay. And that might be after they lose their government contracts, or their government contracts are reduced. Because again, I'm telling you, and I'm not saying nothing bad about Biden, but I'm saying Kamala Harris has got bigger balls. I'm just telling you right now. She will walk in there and say, pulling this government contract, reducing this government contract, we're going to have higher standards for our government contracts, which will automatically reduce a lot of those things. And I just saw where Tesla, their stock is way up for the reason that they got all these government credits for producing a product that is green. We are actually making this guy rich. It's again, go back to what we talked about, where these people know how to game the system. They know how to game the Constitution. They also know how to game the government, because they got not only do we have Elon Musk, but we have all these Republicans, you know, voting for things that the Democrats think are green and are going to help the environment, but the Republicans funnel the money to people like Elon Musk. And here we go. It's like a circus, right? So it just goes round and round. He's going to get ruination. That's what's going to happen to him. I wouldn't want to be him. I will say that to you. Timing wise, I don't know for sure. I think the downfall of his power, so it's not a straight line. It kind of goes down and he gets power and then it goes down and he gets power. So it's a fight. Okay. What that tells me is he's fighting back. Okay. So not going to say that by, June of next year, he's ruined, but the energy is going to win and it's going to whack-a-mole. When he sticks his head up, it's going to smack him down. Okay. And eventually he's going to get concussion and lay down and go to sleep. meaning not that he's going to cross over, but that he's out of the game, because these companies like Tesla, they're not going to put up with somebody who's ruining their company. Right now, he's bringing them money, and that's been saving his lily white butt, but it's not going to continue because the energy is shifting. Okay. I'm going to stop there for a minute. Barb Corey says, you have 3 adult MAGA sons. What happened? They weren't brought up this way. Okay, I'm not going to get into this because I did a whole video that I didn't even post because it's pretty spicy. And it just really is a little too spicy. But I'm going to tell you guys very briefly that the divine feminine energy is here. It's the same energy that's supporting Kamala Harris. It's the same energy. Why is the justice lady justice? Why is justice a lady? Right? With the scales. So what's happening is men are feeling left out. They've been feeling left out. It started way back in the 70s when women decided they wanted to have rights, and women could all of a sudden get credit cards and buy a house and get jobs, all these things. Women started showing up and saying, we want to make our own money. We want to be our own boss. And what happened was women became more masculine. They took on the masculine energy because they had to, because if you're competing against a man, they don't let you talk about emotions. It was interesting last night when Kamala was on that town hall, and they asked her questions about how are you, or maybe it wasn't last night, but it was in the last day or two. How are you holding up mentally? That's not something you ever ask a man. Nobody ever asked a man that. Daily Beast came out and said she's the worst dressed presidential candidate. They don't talk about men and how they dress, right? So this is a change. And especially now, because now in the 2000s, women have said, okay, we did the thing. Like, we worked our butts off. We had latchkey kids. We tried to break the glass ceiling. We couldn't. We kind of sold our souls. We didn't even know who we were, what we were. Now the new women, the millennials, the Gen Zers are saying, we see what our parents and our grandparents did. We want something different. We want all of it. We want to be women, and we want to embrace our femininity, but we also want to be powerful. Bingo, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris will laugh, will cry, will hug you, will share recipes with you, will try to get your recipe out of you, and then she will put your ass in jail. She's the embodiment of the balancing of the feminine and the masculine. That's what's happening to these men. And I will do a different video when I'm not so spicy, but I'm just going to tell you guys, men are not going to back down. They're really, and this is all men, gay men. I'm not saying all gay men. I'm not saying all straight men. But mark my words, a lot of men of any inclination are going to start feeling some kind of way, because women are saying, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. Maybe I don't even want to have sex right now. Okay, Men are not used to that. For eons, they've been controlling women. Women couldn't vote. Women couldn't get a credit card. Women couldn't do anything. Men are in the boardrooms. Men are in Congress. Men have controlled things all the way down to our households. Okay. For women to start saying, I'm just not feeling it today, go away, that's going to make them really combative and they're going to want to dominate. Okay. They're not going to want to give up their energy. So for your 3 adult MAGA sons, they're losing their power. They don't want to lose their power to women. They don't want to lose their power to people that are not white. They don't want to lose their power. It's that simple. It just boils down to they feel disempowered, and that's neutered, right? So it goes back to that domination thing. So as we go forward, I would just suggest to you, in all honesty, to talk to your grandkids, talk to your great grandkids, talk to your kids, talk to your nephews and your nieces about compassion. We need to be teaching compassion in schools because that's what MAGAs are, is not compassionate. Number one. And number two, please speak to the women in your life, including you, and go take self-defense classes. Bring any sort of defense on you. You know, if you don't want to bring a GUN, bring a lighter. I'm on Threads a lot, you guys, and this woman showed how she could get out of a headlock by just taking the lighter out of her pocket and lighting this guy's forearm on fire. Just a lighter. Maybe you don't want to have a knife or something. Maybe you don't want to have mace. I mean, how are you going to use mace if somebody comes up behind you? But if you have a lighter in your pocket, you're going to have, a minute to run, right? So I'm not trying to scare anybody, but it is what it is. Men are going to want to dominate. Women are going to resist it. We're going to have some issues there. Okay. So let me move on. And maybe that applies to your sons or not, Barb. I know mothers see their sons as the young men that they were, or the kids that they were. I witnessed it with my own nephew who I babysat. He was the goofiest, happiest kid. He was just a joy. He grew up, had some rough childhood issues with a stepdad, and kind of turned into an angry man who then became an angry police officer. So I get it. Sometimes you see these kids and you think, wow, they're just so a delight. And then something happens to them and they become somebody different, right? So I'm sorry that happened to your sons. Perhaps the energy will change and they'll relax into this energy and allow more of a balance in their lives. Okay. It can happen. It will happen. Not for everybody, but it will happen. All right. Let's see. Next question is Aurelia says, do you think we're definitely going to have a blue tsunami in the Senate and in Congress? Well, so here's the thing, you guys. Again, I have a lot of tough truth to tell you. And the guides have always said this. We have to have 20% more VOTEs than we need. Just to be a tiebreaker, we need 20% more. Some of that is gerrymandering. Some of that is suppression of the VOTE. Some of that is outright trickery of the VOTE. Okay, now we're at 20% for sure. I feel like we're going to be 50%, which gives us 30%. If you can follow the math, 20% doesn't even matter. We just have to do an extra 20% just to get on the board, right? So I feel like it's not a tsunami. I hope to be wrong, right? I mean, I'm wearing my blue. I hope to be wrong, but I don't think it's a tsunami. What the guides are saying is that it's a strategic win. And I've never heard them say it like that before. So I'm going to ask them about it. It's a strategic win because the wins in the Senate that we have are strategically placed, and the number is strategic so that it's enough for us to get the job done. Okay. I've That's just what they're saying. I don't think it's a tsunami. I think it is a strategic win. So that could mean that we pick up 2 additional seats in the Senate. I'm just looking at the energy. I mean, it's a mess. When you go into the energy, it's a mess because of so many pressures on free will. I can't read the free will. The free will of the people would be a tsunami. We have the VOTESs for it to be a tsunami. And this is not going to stop here, you guys. The energy suggests that the popular VOTE is had enough with the shenanigans, had enough with not having their VOTE counted, without having their voice heard. Women, go look at the actual voting counts that are coming in. Women are like up 10 to 20% over men. That should tell you everything you need to know, right? So I feel like we're going to get 2 or 3 seats on the Senate. Now the House is different. I don't know. I feel like we could pick up quite a few seats in the House. The guides feel very confident about the House. So we might do really well in the House. I don't know if I'd call it a tsunami, but we're going to have enough control to affect the filibuster, to pass some much needed legislation. And this is where the guides have told you 1,000 times. We have to stand up to the bullies, and the Democrats have to say, we don't care if you say it's unfair, because that's what happens, right? When we get in the majority, all of a sudden the Republicans are like, you're hurting us, you're bullying us. And then the Democrats are like, okay, we're sorry. We'll let you have a lot more power. F that. F it. We've got to stop giving our power away to people that don't have our values. The people that put us into office have our values. If they wanted red votes, they would vote red. The Democrats have got to stop doing that. They've got to step in and say, we don't care if you think we're bullying you. We're doing what's best for our constituents. Okay? So that's what I would say about that. We have enough to do the work. The question has always been, in all my readings, will the Democrats do the work? Will they be brave? Will they stand up? Will they do the thing? That's where you come in, because you need to write your Democrat all the time. Email them once a week. I want you to vote on this. I want you to vote on that. If they don't hear from you, guess who they do hear from? The lobbyist. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. Be the squeaky wheel. Okay? Let's move on. Will Ted Cruz lose in Texas? Let me ask. I just did a live video with Kevin's Loving Vibrations last night. It was a great video. You guys should check it out if you haven't seen it. We talked about so many in-depth things. We talked for an hour and 40 minutes about politics and psychic predictions. It was really, really good. It's on my channel. Check it out. We did talk about Ted Cruz. And I feel like he's going to lose. I would be surprised if he won. Okay. Now, this is not a landslide. I'm not saying that I feel the same way about Ted Cruz losing as I do Kamala Harris winning. That's not the same here. It's a close race, and there is shenanigans. Okay. But let me look again. It's tight. All I can say is it's really tight right now. There is VOTER suppression going on. I think Alred can pull it off, but it's tight, you guys. It shouldn't be, because, just like we didn't think that Beto lost the last time. There's shenanigans going on. And the guide said that 2025, there's going to be a lot of ELECTION crimes investigated. There's going to be an entire ad hoc or committee or czar special investigator that's going to do nothing but investigate ELECTION crimes. Because Congress is going to say, oh, you said there's so many. Well, let's create a special prosecutor. Let's get this done. Well, guess who they're going to find? You know? So my point is that if Ted gets in, he's not going to last long because this energy of investigation is going to come after him. And specifically, maybe his allegedly for entertainment purposes only, and only my opinion, his campaign financing and funding of other campaigns like Boebert. He's not going to be in power long, okay? It would be a mercy to him to lose. Because if he doesn't lose, everything that's about to happen to him is going to happen on the stage, on the public stage. So that's what I would say about that. What's up with Mark Meadows these days? Karen Elizabeth says. Is he in a witness protection program? He is. Let me go into his energy. Wow. When you lie down with dogs, you get fleas, is what the guides just said. And guess who they're talking about? They're not talking about Mark Meadows. They're not talking about Mark Meadows, y'all. They're talking about the feds. Why do I do this business? Okay. Okay. All right. The best way, let me just say that I'm not going to get into some big metaphor. I'm just going to say it like this. Yes, I think he's working with the feds, but because the feds know things that Mark Meadows did, and those things cannot be known by the public because there's an investigation going on. And for these things to be known by the public, it will ruin the investigation. In a way, it's kind of like they're tied together with this darkness. You know what I mean? Like the CIA goes in and does regime change. Well, supposedly it's for our good, right? But it's not a good thing to do. It's kind of like how I feel about Mark Meadows. The feds are involved with him, but now they're in deep with him. Okay. And this is the way they do when they have an undercover officer that goes into some terrible group. Well, that undercover officer witnesses a lot of crimes, maybe even participates in them because they need to get the evidence. This is how I feel about Mark Meadows and the feds. The feds are in deep with Mark Meadows now because they're trying to get to somebody else. It's not Mark Meadows. They're trying to get to somebody who's more at the core. Same metaphor with, I tell you, I'm not going to do it. And then the only way I can do it is metaphors. The same thing with the undercover police officer. They're not looking to bust the guys doing the bad things. They're looking to bust the main person. That's why they're there. They're hoping to get to the center, to the core. That's what the feds are doing with Mark Meadows. They're trying to get to the core because the person, or I feel like it's a person, meaning one person who might have a big operation, but they're trying to get to this one person because if you don't get to the core of it, it just comes back, right? They just hire new people. They're constantly going to be a problem. So the feds are trying to get to this one main, kingpin, take them down, and then everything else goes away. So that's what I see. But because of that, the feds are kind of in up to their neck in nastiness. Um, whatever. That's what I got. I could be wrong, you guys. All of this, I could be translating it wrong, or the energy could change. Listen, this is what they're telling me. This is how I feel about Ray, Christopher Ray. Was he like the head of the FBI or something? I don't know. They just gave me his name. This guy probably shouldn't be there, right? Because we all kind of feel like he's compromised from 45's, reign of terror, but Biden has left him in because he's bad good. He's bad good. You know what I mean? He knows so much of the bad that under the close supervision of the DOJ or whoever, he actually is a good person to have around. He's sort of like a spy. Okay. So anyway, I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm channeling you guys. I don't even know what I just said. Let me move on. For the love of God, please let me move on. Okay, Elison Listen says, will most poll workers, city clerks handle the election? Honestly, yes, they will. Absolutely. When you say most, yes, absolutely. There's really just these pockets of bad actors. And because the energy suggests that if you step out of line, well, there's probably some astrological reason for this, but energetically, if you step out of line, you're going to get busted. So I'm just telling y'all, going into 2025, please don't step out of line. Please, it's not the year. It's not the time to think you're going to maybe even take something from somebody because you feel like they took something from you 2 years ago. You're the one that's going to get caught. Okay. Whoever's doing stuff that is not humane, not moral, illegal in 25 through like 28 is going to get busted. That's the energy. So, guess what? Election, interference and crimes will be taken care of. And I'm telling you, not just the workers, but the sheriffs, the election monitors, or whoever all the way up the chain, Secretary of States, they're going to get busted. Now, this doesn't mean that next year you're going to see like people go to prison because it takes a long time. We live in a democracy, a civil society where the powers that be say, hey, we're investigating you. Get an attorney, be ready to represent yourself. Right. So that's going to take time. But you're going to see next year when we're living it, it's going to be hard to understand it, because it's just comes at you like in a flurry of activity. But when you look back on it, you're going to see that 2025 was the year that accountability reigned. So that's what but the majority of people are law abiding. Again, you guys, you know what they said a while back, and they reminded me this morning is when you start thinking that this whole United States is just going to hell in a handbasket, I want you to pay attention when you're driving. We all stop at a stop sign. Sometimes we let people in the line. We all stop at red lights. For the most part, within reason, we do the speed limit. We try to pay attention. We are humane. This place hasn't gone to hell in a handbasket. You don't go to the grocery store and get mugged every day, right? It's just that this media has made us feel unsafe. Really and truly, on the roads are going to be a lot of MAGAs, but they're stopping at the red light. You're stopping at the red light. Society is operating. It's not that it's not operating. Media has scared us to death because then we watch more media and we make more money for them. That's what's going on here. Okay. It's really not nearly as bad as it looks. Okay. Let's move on. Malta Martin says, when and if Trump Vance ticket loses, will Vance be cast aside by Peter Thiel in the Project 2025 and in Progress 2028? They already have a new one for 2028. If so, who will be the new face to represent them to the general public? Such a great question. We did talk a little bit about this last night. I see Vance just imploding. Like he doesn't have a long future. Honestly, who worries me more? This is going to blow y'all's mind, but who worries me more than Vance is Barron Trump. I feel like Barron is going to be the kid that grows up to be the monster, the sociopathic monster that either becomes even 100 times worse than Trump as far as the psychosis of people that he's able to sort of, it's crazy. So I'm not worried about Vance. Vance is going to exit stage left. You do have to worry about Peter Thiel. I talked to you guys about gay men. Peter Thiel's gay. He's got a husband, yet he hates women, right? This energy of the man being the power and women being breeders. is the problem here, right? They don't want to give up their power. So that's where people like Peter Thiel are. It doesn't matter, gay, straight, it doesn't matter. If you're a man and you have this energy about you, not saying all men have it, don't come at me, because I already know men are already coming at me. So I don't really give a flying F, to be honest with you, but I'm just telling you, don't come at me. um, so we have to worry about Peter Thiel for sure going forward. And what we really have to worry about is this has been an operation that they've paid attention to. They understand even more now how to, and the guides keep using the word psychosis. I don't know if that means cult. I don't know what they mean by that, but they understand more now than ever how to manipulate people's fears, men's fears, women's fears, humans' fears. They understand more now than ever because they've done this for 8 years. They know what buttons make humans react in a certain way. And Teal's going to continue doing that. These are the people that control our media. These are the people that control what we absorb, right? So what is your question? If so, with the new public face. Okay, so then the new public face is this. And the guides predicted this. I did a video called The End of the Republican Party in June of 2023. So more than a year ago. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. And described everything exactly where we are now. We are basically end stage of the Republican Party. So what I see happening, and Kevin saw this too last night, is the Republican Party will break into two, and the new face of the Republican Party that's going to be like the Reagan, whatever you want to call it, traditional public Republican Party is going to be Liz Cheney. And she's going to remake herself to be more moderate. And you guys need to pay attention to this because she's not moderate. She voted over 96% or something with Trump. She kept Jan 6 committee from investigating Jenny Thomas. Okay? Let's be honest. Okay? Is she a patriot? Yes, right? Is she saving democracy? I guess so. She's doing what I feel like any regular citizen should do. I don't give them extra credit for doing something that any citizen would do, considering democracy is on the chopping block. Okay. So she's going to, in this video I said, and it's still true today, if the party implodes, she'll wait for it to implode, then she'll put it back together, take the standard bearer, the flag, and become the head of it. But it's not going to happen like that because, as you mentioned, Peter Thiel has so much money. He has just an insane amount of money. And money buys media, and media buys minds through psychosis. So what's probably going to happen is the Republican Party is going to break into two. You're going to have MAGA-ish, because once 45 is out of the picture, you cannot deny that the MAGA, the principles that they adhere to work. You push the button, you get money. You push the button, you get votes. I mean, it's deplorable, it's horrible, it's inhumane, and it's immoral, but it works. They're not going to just walk away from something that works. So Peter Thiel is going to continue to, here's the thing you really need to hear, what they're just telling me, Peter Thiel is going to continue to widen the divide between men and women. He's going to widen the divide between the races, because divide and conquer. Okay. So one side of the Republican Party is going to be feeding you all, women want to take your jobs. People that aren't white are taking your jobs. The immigrants are flooding over the board. You're not safe. Lock your doors. Get 7,000 guns, because it works. That works. So Peter Thiel is going to be finding someone Vance-like. He'll try to use Vance, but Vance is not likable. The MAGAs don't like Vance. The people that were lining up behind Nikki Haley don't like Vance. Nobody likes Vance. He's just not likable. They'll find somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. It's a figurehead, right? So that's kind of how I see it going. Now, what Kevin said last night, Kevin's Loving Vibrations, which I think this is very true, is that because the Republican Party breaks into two, the party that would be under Liz Cheney or her auspices is going to be more likely to sign on with the Democrats to pass legislation like voting rights. However, back to what they just said a few minutes ago, if the Democrats had enough votes, they would pass the entire Voting Rights Act the way it was written. But if we bring in Republican, Fox in a grandma's clothing, they're going to say, yeah, we can do this whole voting rights thing, but we need to dial this back and we need to dial this back. And the Democrats will say, oh, we're all one big happy family again. Let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. And let's give up a bunch of our rights to this other group who thinks that that's not acceptable. That would be a mistake. It would be a mistake. Please don't fall for that, everybody. Please write your congressperson and your senator and say, don't do that. We are VOTERSs and we want this. Okay. Okay. I'm going to move on. Another question about Ted Cruz. I already answered that. We did talk about Darren wants to know the latest on Russia and Ukraine war. What's going on with Putin? Yulia Navalny has indicated she would run for president. Is she safe? Nobody is safe. Nobody, period, end of story. The guides are saying it's coming to a head. It's coming to a head because this whole thing with North Korea I did a video on this. You guys might want to watch that. North Korea is there in Russia providing troops, which is making people like Finland upset, making Poland upset. This is going to cause the European countries or the European Union to close ranks and perhaps even force NATO to do something or create an ad hoc or a separate type of union that deals directly with Russia. Also, Russia is experiencing serious pain within their country in the sense that their inflation is like 18-20%, maybe even 25%. If you remember our inflation being at like 8-10%, it like to killed us, right? Imagine double that, number one. Number two, they don't have money to even buy the items to begin with. And there seems to be food shortages in Russia. I'm getting this right now because part of Russia's agreement with North Korea to provide ammunition and troops was to ship out their grain. So now they don't have as much food. It's dire. It's dire in Russia right now. And when I did these videos a long time ago about this at the very beginning of the war, I said, when the turning point for this war will be when Russian people stand up and riot in the streets. And this is coming. And I feel like the FSB or whoever the secret police or the militarized police are, they're not going to put them down because they're starving. They don't want to go to the war. They're about to go to the war. Their friends have gone to the war and never come back. In other words, there's no confidence. There's no confidence, not in the military, not in the secret police, the militarized police, the whatever they are, the intelligence community, and the citizens. There's no confidence in Putin. That makes him a wanted man. So things are coming to a head. What I've seen in the past, and again, I was reading from a different point in time, was a military kind of man taking over Russia because if you have riots, if you have civil unrest, you really need a military person to come in and quell everything and lock everything down. So that's kind of what I've always seen. And then after that, I see a woman coming in, and I do see Russia becoming more like a normalized quasi-democracy nation for the reason that they have too much resources. The world needs their resources. And businessmen are going to make a bunch of money off of those resources. So money always wins, always. So I feel like if businessmen start saying, well, if we turn this into more of a sort of a socialistic or some sort of democracy, we could be multi-gazillionaires and we wouldn't have to worry about Putin throwing us out a window. So you see all these pressures coming at him. It won't be long. It will not be long. This is an interesting question because when I asked it, I got an interesting answer. Sherry says, "How are the two poll workers from Georgia feeling after learning Giuliani has to give them all his property through really bad lawyering?" Um, he lost his case, and he has to give them his jewels, his upper, very expensive, high-end apartment. He has to give them some very, very expensive car. Um, Now, this isn't everything they're owed. I mean, they're owed more than this, and they have attorney's fees to pay too. This isn't just like you get all this money and you get to walk away. Plus, there are probably going to be tax liabilities on it. But I mean, this is good. I'm happy for them. This is justice. This is what we've been talking about this whole video. This is a leveling. It's never going to be equal, guys. We're on planet Earth. This is not an equal planet. This is a school where things go up and down. You know what I mean? It's the justice scales are never equal. They're scales for a reason. Sometimes it airs on more justice, sometimes it airs on more injustice. But what is happening right now is the scale is coming within more of a tolerance of equality. Our tolerance of inequality is not tolerable. So we're going to bring things back into a tolerable amount. Okay. Now, so the interesting thing was when I went into that energy, unfortunately, they are under duress. They're under attack. The guides are saying they're under menacing energy. So like the goons, right? These, the mob. I mean, come on. For entertainment purposes only, allegedly, in my opinion, Giuliani got rid of the mob in New York, but he basically replaced it with the Russian mob. This is how we got here. This is how we got here with 45 and Putin. It's through Giuliani. So, and the Russian mob went all the way down the eastern seaboard, all the way down into Florida to the tip of the United States and Key West. Okay? So, the goons are menacing them. They are being threatened. Their lives are not their own, is what the guides are saying. And it's almost like if somebody gave you something that you can't have because you're afraid to go get it because you're afraid. I'm sorry to say that. I wish I could tell you they're happy, they're screaming for joy. Look, I tried to tell y'all at the beginning of this video. I just tell you what I get. It's not guaranteed to make you happy. Um, so so what I think they will do, and this is on advice of counsel, they will liquidate everything. They will take whatever money they can, and they literally will become invisible. They will melt. They will sort of go into a witness protection program. Um, if not an official witness protection program, there is a template. I want to say there's companies. This is what they're telling me. I didn't know that, but there's companies that understand how to make you disappear and will make you disappear. And this is what's going to happen. They're going to liquidate everything. They're going to take what they can and they're going to disappear. And that's the sense is that they may leave money on the table, meaning that they may cut their losses. They may say, we've got each $1 million each, or whatever it is, $2 million, whatever it is. We're simple people. We're going to live off of that. What's most important is our safety and our sanity. These women have been through hell and back. And again, this is the same energy of male versus female. It's interesting, isn't it? That a lot of these judges, a lot of these prosecutors that have brought Trump to his knees are women, the divine feminine, the battle of the sexes. So that's where we're going. We don't have a choice. Spirit is saying, let's integrate our divine masculine and our divine feminine so we don't have toxic masculine or toxic feminine. Let's integrate it. That's what we're learning to do. So you understand what's happening. It's all energy. Whether you are aware or whether you're not aware, the energy is the energy. And that's what's making everybody act in the physical, is this energy that you can't see. That's what's making the magas. You can't see it, but they feel threatened. The great replacement theory. This is why they're magas. They don't want to give up their power. Take really, really good care of yourselves. We got this. All of this is for the right reason. This is all because we are elevating. We are ascending. We are learning how to be masculine and feminine all at the same time and mix those energies together. But in the beginning, it's hard to mix things together. That's where we are. We're in the beginning. It's hard to mix these energies together. We will mix them together. We will. But right now, it's a little bit difficult. Okay? Take really, really good care. I'll see you real soon. For entertainment purposes only.